Are you an addict? You know, you might be an addict and you wouldn't be alone. Your best friend, family, significant other, and relatives are most likely addicts as well. Now, this doesn't mean you're taking illicit drugs. Addictions come in many forms, and today many people are addicted to things like sugar and caffeine and even chemicals in foods, as well as the more obvious things such as tobacco, alcohol, and prescription drugs. Dr. Hayla-Cass is our guest today, and she's going to share with you how you might be an addict and how you can overcome these addictions and actually live a very vibrant life.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, thank you. You have written many, many books on how to feel good using natural mind techniques and supplements and whole foods.
For the most part, what I'm focusing on is letting your body do the healing. And in fact, in order to allow your body to do its best job, we need to supply it with the right fuel, with the right materials. And that very often comes in the form of food and supplements.
How do your colleagues accept you and what you're doing?
Oh, good question. More and more of them are actually wanting to know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because they, like I, have noticed how really difficult it is for people to be on these medications. There's so many side effects, from nausea to sexual dysfunction, feeling spacey. You know, you go on an antidepressant to feel good, to feel better, and instead you have this sort of chemical feeling where you can't feel anything. That's really not what people are seeking. And as the doctors are noticing this, they're looking for answers, and the answers are not in traditional psychiatry.
You recently wrote an article, is it drugs, not guns, that cause violence, regarding Sandy Hook?
Yes.
Speak to that in terms of the side effects of what drugs can cause.
Well, and it was in response to Sandy Hook, but there have been so many instances where particularly young people, young men, will just go off. And you'd say, well, they've been under psychiatric care, so, well, they're psychiatric patients, and that's why they did it. But the truth is, in many of the cases, they had just recently had their medication increased or changed. So they were actually having a side effect from the medication, and they became very violent.
Prozac has certainly come up over and over again, correct?
Yeah, Prozac seems to be the biggest culprit, in fact.
You know, it's fascinating if you look at the pictures of the shooters after the event. Their eyes speak that there is certainly something going on with them, something not right.
Yeah, they're not home. You know, what can you do? As a parent, you know, parents will do their best, but very often you'll find parents that even though they're doing their best, they really didn't have the skills to take care of that particular young person.
So your patients, or actually people in general, nutrition, what they eat, is very important to look at. If they're struggling with their moods, or they're depressed, or they don't have the energy that they'd like, or they don't have the attention or focus at work that they'd like, what's the first thing they should look at?
Diet and lifestyle. And one of the biggies is sugar. You know, sugar and white flour, they are the quick-release sugars. And our brain loves glucose, loves sugar. Sugar turns into glucose, and it gives us a quick high. Feels good, but then it lets us down, and it's not sustained. So we go for the sugar, we go for the white flour, but it gives us mood swings. And then somebody has mood swings, and they go to a doctor, and they're put on an antidepressant, or they may be labeled, this is interesting, they may be labeled bipolar. And I've really seen people who were labeled as having bipolar illness when what was really going on was they were extremely sensitive to sugar. And they also were deficient in certain other things, like essential fatty acids.
So that's the start. The start is really the nutrition.
Yes.
What are you putting into your mouth? And we've heard, or many of us have heard of, you know, the labeling on the foods and the want of the public, so much of the public wanting full disclosure on the ingredients that are going into our packaged foods. So it's a difficult cycle to break. If you're feeling bad and you change your diet and you're trying to lose weight and your body is fighting against you because you've fed it so many, poisons for so long, it is not an easy thing, an easy habit to break, right? It's just
No, it isn't. And they're also, some of these chemicals are highly addictive, like diet drinks. Oh, my. The aspartame that's in the artificial sweeteners is extremely addictive. And that really can poison your brain, particularly if you're very sensitive to it.
and how many people out there are drinking several ounces of soda a day, pop soda? Have you found in your practice a connection between addiction to sugar and addiction to, let's say, alcohol or other drugs?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Speak to that.
Yeah. Pretty much, when you go to an AA meeting, they have cake, cookies, coffee, people are smoking. It's kind of interesting because I've often thought I'd like to go to an AA meeting. I hear this by report. What is often the case is that people are alcoholic because they have a blood sugar imbalance. And once the sugar is balanced, once their blood sugar is balanced, often they have far less craving for alcohol.
And that certainly is extremely powerful for someone who has struggled with, alcohol addiction. You know how that just kills somebody's self-esteem and, their whole life many times for them to be in AA and be labeled an alcoholic, right? There has been a lot of damage with relationships with their own body. The simple act of perhaps changing the diet and eliminating or decreasing the amount of sugar that they're eating make a huge difference. Sugar is, and you probably know this, cigarettes contain sugar. That's
on purpose.
On purpose. It makes it more addicting, right? We are speaking with Dr. Hayla-Cass, trained medical doctor, psychiatrist, and author of many insightful books on health and well-being. So, doctor, you not only deal with the mental issues in your practice, but really you're about the whole person living a very vibrant life and a healthy life. And we have focused on addiction and sugar and a little bit on nutrition and supplements. But speak more about vibrant living and restoring someone's well-being.
To start with, diet and exercise are extremely important, and that is to eat whole food as close to nature as possible. Without the chemicals, without the processing, because that's what goes into our body and becomes us. That becomes our cells. So we want to have wonderful, fresh, organic food, organic whenever possible as well. And if you think organic costs more, well, what's the price of illness? It's food. It's exercise. We were meant to move. If we don't move, then our cells are not able to do what they're supposed to do.
In your website, cassmd.com, and Cass is spelled CASSMD.com, under the supplements. Is that where you list your books? Or
Yes, yeah. Well, actually, no, the books are separate. If you go to the home page, there's this box partway down the home page, and you'll see a picture of one of my books. It happens to be 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health on that page, but you just click on it, and it'll take you to my book page, and you'll find Natural Highs, 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health, Supplement Your Prescription. Supplement Your Prescription is good. It's about the side effects of medications and how they can actually deplete you further of nutrients.
I salute you for writing these books, and I salute you for going the direction that you have with your practice. As you know, with the MD, right, the medical doctor initials after your name, what you say carries so much credibility, unfortunately, in our society. Those that speak the same, share the same information that you do, but don't have those initials, just don't have the same credibility.
And going the natural route is, once you understand it, it's not a hard thing to do. For example, as people are getting older and their memory is going a little south, like you can't remember somebody's name or you can't remember where you put your keys, very often if you say go to your doctor and you tell him or her, they'll say, well, that's just part of getting older, and leave it at that. But the truth is there's a whole lot you can actually do. There are products you can take that will help your brain cells to work better. They'll enhance your brain blood supply, enhance the neurotransmitters in your brain.
And our brains are starving. Our bodies are starving, right?
Yes.
I meet so many people in my practice when I work with money, and in my practice I meet so many people who are spending a bloody fortune on their health because they didn't take care of it when they were younger. And it doesn't matter how much money you accumulate. If you're not healthy, you don't have wealth. You've got to completely step out of the box of your profession to understand what's going on with the body, right? Because what are they taught in medical school? What is their paradigm? And it's extremely difficult to go outside that paradigm.
Yeah.
Number one, to start, and then number two, the practice itself.
That's exactly right. People have to self-educate, which is why I've written actually about 10 books at this point, but I really want to educate people. What I want to do is have them know as much as my patients know. In fact, I want my patients to know this too. I started off writing the books because I wanted my patients to know this because I was saying the same thing over and over again, and that wasn't very time effective.
So you use the books as leverage.
Yeah. So the books are actually helping to extend my reach.
And I think that's fantastic. So, well, thank you so much, Dr. Cass, for being on our show today. And I want our listeners to be able to get your books and all your great information. Sign up for your newsletter. We will have a link on livingwealthyradio.com. Relatively easy to read and certainly gives a ton of great information about how.
Thank you so much. And also I have, if you sign up on my website in the upper right-hand corner, you get something called Reclaim Your Brain. And some of those things I was talking about how to take certain supplements to feel good is explained in Reclaim Your Brain, because I couldn't possibly do it all in the short time we had.
And you also have a coaching program. So if someone can't be your patient directly, you've got a coaching program that can help someone really, change their life, right, in a few steps?
Right. It's a 9-CD series that you can have that will explain to you all the things we're talking about and more, how to diagnose and how to treat, and it includes the 8 Weeks to Vibrant Health book. So I give you a lot of material so you can take charge of your health.
And I think that should be everyone's objective.
Absolutely. Amen.
Amen. All right, Dr. Cass. Well, God bless you and your work. And again, thank you so much for joining us on Living Wealthy Radio.